Hey guys, it's Jennifer. It's been really interesting today. Today is Tuesday, July 9th, 2019. And probably most of you already know that I just am back. Today's my first day back from vacation. And it was really interesting because I've been feeling a little bit kind of melancholy all day. And I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, the vacation was great. I don't really feel like I feel like I was ready to come back. So, you know how sometimes when you're on vacation, you have the vacation blues. I didn't really feel like that's what it was, and I was, like, just going through the day going, I just don't know, like, I'm trying to get some things caught up, and I'm just kind of going through my day, but there was just this underlying, like, I don't know, something's just a little bit off. So I started looking it up, and I thought, "I'm gonna just see where things are right now, what's going on with the planets." And what I realized, or what I found, is that Chiron goes retrograde today. Okay. So you guys know I'm not an astrologer. I am still considering taking some kind of a class on astrology to maybe start offering more of that. But what I do know about it is that Chiron is known as the wounded healer. So that being said, whenever something goes in retrograde, we also know that that's when you activate the RE words, right? Like, so you revamp, you rework, you rewrite, evaluate, like all of those kind of words. So Mercury retrograde, we know, is all about communication. Okay, so when Mercury goes retrograde, we usually know that there's some kind, and we are actually in Mercury retrograde as well. So kind of getting like a double whammy here. Actually, I think there's like 4 or 5 planets in retrograde, but anyway, so they all affect us a little bit differently. But I feel like this Chiron one really, it seems like it's really making a difference in, I really was feeling it, and I just could tell that it wasn't me, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from. And when I saw that Chiron was in retrograde starting today, it just really dawned on me that there's something to this. So I sat with it for a minute, and I just wanted to look a little bit more deeply at what Chiron like shows us. And so basically what this Chiron retrograde is going to show us is, again, Chiron is known as the wounded healer. So this is going to be a time in the next few months where we really look at what are the old wounds that we're holding on to. Okay, now I don't mean just what are we aware of, but what are we holding on to in our cells, in our DNA, in our energy, what patterns, paradigms, programs are around, you know, self-worth, shame, guilt, anger, like any of the old pains, aches, pains, anxieties, shame, guilt, those kind of things, anything like that that you're holding on to, whether it be something that you're aware of that you're holding on to, or something that's deep within that is going to show itself for healing. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of quickly come on and just let you know that if this comes up over the next, you know, five, I think it's in retrograde for 5 months. So if this comes up for you, try to be in a space of, I wonder why this is showing itself now. I wonder how I can heal this. I wonder what I can learn from this, right? So it's kind of being in that inquisitive, like, okay, I wonder, because when you put yourself in the, I wonder what this is, versus, oh shit, this is going to suck to deal with, it just brings a different energy to it so that you can deal with it in a more open way, a more graceful way, a more awareness way, right? So bringing that spiritual awareness to whatever it is that you're going through, whatever comes up for you. The one thing that I do want to kind of really bring home in this video is whenever we hold on to these old patterns, it creates more damage, right? So a lot of times what happens is if something comes up, we're like, nope, I'm not going to deal with that right now. Well, that pattern keeps going and it just creates more damage. So we're at a place right now, and this ties back to the video I did at the end of May about us really kind of being on the edge of a cliff, and it's really time to clear out what doesn't serve us anymore. And I feel like that's exactly kind of what's starting right now, is this whole clearing out thing. So over the next few months, let's identify and maybe kind of figure out what we need to do to come to terms with what's happened, the kind of pattern that you were in, what you've learned from it, how you can move forward from it, right? So if you can identify those things, And I don't know how many of you on Patreon are actually part of the Embodied Grace program, but in that program, if you're in that, go in and look at this place that's called Paradigms, Programs, and Patterns, because that would be a really good thing for you throughout this next few months to work with. Because it's really about looking at, okay, where, not to put blame on anybody, but just learning, where did I learn this from, right? So did I learn this from my mother? Did I learn this from my father? Did I learn this from somebody I worked with? Did I learn this from a teacher? Like, and not placing blame there, but just seeing where it started. Basically, that's really all you're looking for when you're going through this, is where did this pattern, program, or paradigm start? Who did I learn it from? And maybe it's just something that you were born with, right? So maybe it's just something you've always dealt with. It's just a life lesson that you're here to learn. So what have you learned from that paradigm, program, pattern, whatever that limiting belief is, whatever that wounding is, whatever it is, like, what have you learned from it? Because I feel like when you can see what you've learned from something, it helps you release and heal the other parts. So looking at, what did you learn, where did it come from, what did you learn, and what can you take from it that's going to benefit you, and then how do you heal all the rest? Okay, so that's I really feel like that was important to get out today, and to come to you guys and just tell you, like, just a heads up, if you're feeling, a little bit melancholy, like, that's really the word that's really the word. When I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if there's a better word to explain it, but that just kind of feeling off, and just not really sad, but just a little bit, like, it almost felt like the vacation blues, like coming back from vacation, like the blues of that. But it really, I knew it wasn't, because I was ready to get back and ready to get back in the swing of things. And um, so I just had to dive a little bit deeper for myself, just to see. I'm going to pull a couple of cards. I'm going to use the Colette Baron Reed guidebook, or I'm sorry, Colette Baron Reed Spirit Animal Oracles. This is that new deck that I got. So I haven't worked with it very much, but I do feel like being grounded is really important. Again, for the next few months, but really just recently, it's been really important to be grounded. I have been working a lot more again with elemental energy. I know sometimes I work a lot with the Galactic, but there's been a lot, and maybe it's from being in Scotland, but there was a lot of fairy energy, a lot of elemental energy. So I feel like maybe today it'd be good to work with the animals, just to see kind of how we can help ourselves. So that's going to be the question, is what can we do to help ourselves in the next few months during this Chiron retrograde? So I'm just gonna shuffle and see. Let's see, it's kind of sticking together. So I'm gonna clear it again and ask for those on this call that are hearing this, what is something that we can do to help us over the next few months? So just bear with me as I pull cards. Okay. So the first one I got is slow and steady wins the race. Okay, this actually really makes sense to me too. So the first one I get is the turtle spirit, and it says slow and steady wins the race. I really feel like that. Like, it's time to just take a step back. Some of you may have heard me saying in the last few weeks, I know for sure we've talked about this in the Essentials membership group. So if you're in the membership group, where we have the calls every other week, basically, we have a few calls a month. We've been talking about getting back to the basics, okay? And that's kind of what this is saying. I got the turtle spirit, the wasp spirit, and mouse spirit. So it's the turtle is slow and steady wins a race. Wasp spirit, sometimes life stings. So what we were just talking about, Chiron as the wounded healer, sometimes it hurts a little. We've got to process through that and work through it. And then the mouse is tending to the small things. So it's getting back to the basics, okay? So that's something that's really going to be beneficial for us over the next few months while we're dealing with this Chiron retrograde energy. The one thing too that's kind of coming to my mind as I'm looking at this turtle card is that they flow in the water, right? Like, they can be on land as well, but they're able to just kind of roll with it. Like, so I think maybe being in that space of knowing that you can just glide, like, slow and steady, like, take what comes and be able to be versatile, whether that be on land or water, if that makes I don't know. There's something about that, like just going slow and steady. They don't race in the water, they just glide. So it's really that whole thing. I'm going to look at her book, and it says, Turtle Spirit arrives to remind you that when you do what you need to do, putting one foot in front of the other and trusting that you will see your intentions manifest in perfect timing, your prosperity and love will grow exponentially. Now is not the time to rush and try to force matters. Move slowly, perhaps even so slowly that it feels almost as if you're not moving at all. This may be a time to crawl before walking, taking your time to align to Turtle Spirit's place as you contemplate this road you're on. Doing what you need to do in the small moment that will soon pass. So it's just really about being present, like being in the moment. It just says it's reminding you that sometimes the best action is to slow down. So this kind of makes me think of, like, I'll always tell people when I'm working with them, when I used to teach the meditation classes, I would be like, as soon as you feel like you don't have time to meditate, that's when you need to meditate, right? So whenever you feel yourself like, oh my God, I got to hurry, that's really probably when you should slow down. Because when we hurry, we end up making mistakes and messing things up, right? So just slow down a little bit. Yeah, it's just focusing on the now, looking closely for what the next step is. Really be in tune with your guides too, and asking, like just asking all the time, like, okay, now what? What's next? Just connecting to that divine presence so that you have that support, so that you feel supported, and just reminding yourself, like whenever you feel like you're in that space of, oh, I need to hurry and get this done, that's really when you need to just slow down. So, which is actually good. That makes me feel better about myself today, because I felt like I was like really not getting as much done as I was hoping to, but I haven't pushed myself either. I'm like, I just have to let it be and just move with it. So that's actually good. I feel like that is saying that, that's good that I was in tune with just taking it one step at a time. So the wasp spirit is sometimes life stings. Okay. Now I think this has to do with whatever might be coming up for you. Just know that it's okay to have emotions about it. It's okay to feel all the feelings about it, right? Like feel the feels. Like sometimes you just got to be pissed off, and sometimes you've just got to be angry, and sometimes you just got to be sad, and whatever that is. But the thing is, just don't stay there forever, right? Just get past the sting, let it heal, and move on. The guidebook on this one says, not all that spirit creates in nature is easy to love, but when we look through the eyes of the wasp, we recognize that even though sometimes life stings, there is a purpose for pain, just as there is a purpose for wasps in the natural world. So wasps actually have a purpose. They keep the insect population down, they support the growth of plants. So too, the sting of life may hurt, and you may feel disappointed or even resentful that the wasp spirit has shown up, but you will soon come to see that spirit has something wonderful in store for you. You may well come to realize that being stung led to something far better than you'd envisioned for yourself. Perhaps behind the scenes, the wasp was conspiring with spirit to ensure that you could grow something of value to you. So spirit has a plan, and wasp spirit plays a part of that. So it's one of those things, like, have you ever looked back and then actually been glad that your prayers weren't answered? Wasp spirit is a reminder to reflect on those times, for today's sting may hurt, but something better awaits. So I think this comes back to what I was saying about the patterns, programs, paradigms. Like, I think if you can look at those things and look at what could you learn from it, where did you grow from it, what can you take from it, and try to heal and let go of the rest, I really feel like that's going to be beneficial. Then the mouse is tend to the small things. And this is funny too, because yesterday I just had to get myself reorganized and cleaned up and those kind of things. It was really about just daily, like cleaning house, you know what I mean? Like just the little things that we have to do. And so it's the small things in life that make a huge difference, because like for me, when my house is clean, I get much more done. I can accomplish a whole lot more when I don't feel distracted. So what are the little details that are going to help you get through this? Because if there's any loose ends, get those tied up, because that, I feel like that's kind of what this is saying, is the small things, like the things that don't seem like they're a big deal, but they're loose ends that you kind of have, like, I call them energy leaks sometimes. Like there's part of you that's energetically tied to that because you know it's not done yet, try to see if you can tie up some of those loose ends, and look at the small details. So this says the humble mouse pays attention to the smallest details, and mouse spirit calls on you to notice the nuances in the fine print. In your eagerness to meet your goals and pursue your dreams, it is easy to forget the importance of clear communication and tending to the little things, including people's subtle signs that they're unhappy, as well as the small voice inside of you that says, "This doesn't feel right." Take your time to sniff out what you need to know. Is there some detail or nuance about how you engage others or operate in the world that is the key to your success, but you've too readily dismissed it as nothing big or nothing special? Mouse spirit reminds you that what seems small may be more important and powerful than you think. So look again. Do not underestimate yourself for your potential, or I'm sorry, do not underestimate yourself or your potential for co-creating something amazing when you pay attention to the details. So again, I feel like this is about, moving forward one step at a time, pay attention to the small details, um, really be taking care of yourself and really be tuning in, like it said, in those subtle nuances, like really be tuning into yourself, because the one thing that I do know is that as we move through this, and I think in May when I was talking about when I did that message, I think my guides were saying that it was like we were at the edge of a cliff. And like what we take to the other side, we want to be really careful about what we're taking with us. Like we don't want to take anything that's going to slow us down or hinder us. So look at the small details of what really makes your heart sing, what really is important to you, and really focus in on that, right? Clear up the loose ends of the stuff that you don't want to take along. Get the things that you do want to take along tidied up and ready, right? Ready for the journey. Because I do feel like by the end of the year, we're really going to be stepping into a whole new world. Um, so yeah, I hope that resonates with everybody today. Um, let me know if you have any questions about it. And I hope you guys are all doing good. Be aware of the, emotional energy, ground, do self-care things, plenty of water, get out in the sun and, put your feet in the grass if you can. Salt scrub for your hands are always good. Um, honor yourself with what's coming up. Like, I think that's one of the other things too that sometimes can be really hard is like when we really awaken to the spiritual process of I mean, spiritual awakening, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. Like there can be times where you're just like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like I didn't even sign on for this. Like this is sometimes you go to that place where you're like, I almost wish I could go back to where I just didn't know because sometimes it feels easier, right? But we're all being called to awaken. So the more you can be willing to look at these things, the more you can be willing to heal, the more you can be willing to forgive, the more you're willing to be brave enough to move into the new, the easier this transition is going to be for you. So again, I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope this message resonates, and we'll talk to everybody soon.